Welcome, everyone, back to another fun session.
Hey.
This session here, we have somebody that's going to be demoing and showing a lot of hands-on stuff. So I'm actually going to hand it over. Please introduce yourself and give the audience something fun to watch.
Awesome. Well, I hope so. So my name is Tom Codling. I'm part of the Alation team. I run our pre-sales organization for EMEA. Been with us for about 3.5 years now. What we're going to talk about today is what we do in our personal lives and what we do in our professional lives are kind of different, but how we're going to bridge that gap. So a lot of people don't know us. We've been around for about 10 years, and we're widely credited with inventing the enterprise data catalog. The analysts agree with us, but the purpose of a data catalog is really to answer the 4 questions along the bottom. How do we find the information that we got within our environment? Can we use it for a particular use case? Should it be used? And how should it be used? How do we properly interpret the data that we have? So the Bark logo on the right here, we do a bit of work with them, and Carsten Branch actually said that becoming data-driven is more than just technology. You can't buy your way to a data culture, and we're going to talk about why that's important in a moment. But CDOs, CIOs, and data teams are running constantly into brick walls, and that's prohibiting people to actually use data in the correct way. Now, whether you believe it or not, we use data catalogs in our personal life every single day. We were talking last night over a few drinks, and we've not really been out of our houses for 2.5 years, and so we realized we didn't really know the team. And something that's close to my heart, and they've been talking at this event, Spotify, and I want to use that as kind of my example. So, as a result of being curious around the information that Spotify contains, I know that there are bands that I like, there are songs that I like, and I can dig into those areas that I know very well. But what Spotify does is it suggests things that I might like. It suggests things that, based on machine learning and their algorithms, that they believe that I might engage well with. And as a result of being a member of Spotify, the repertoire of bands and artists that I actually listen to, maybe my music taste hasn't changed particularly, but certainly the number of bands that satisfy that taste, that has increased. So my life is better as a result of having engaged with a data catalog in my personal life. Now, weirdly, and kind of conversely, when it comes to working with enterprise data, we're far more reserved, right? So if I think about our Alation's data warehouse, we're Snowflake customers, we've got a Snowflake data warehouse. I'm cautious when it comes to extracting information from that. I could use that data to be better in my work, in my role, and the company would certainly benefit from the correct usage of that data. But because it's governed by policy, because there are correct ways to do things, and because I'm not really sure what data exists in that data warehouse, I don't want to drive loads of cost into my organization by writing really poor queries and accessing that data incorrectly. So there's kind of this opposition of how we do things in our personal lives versus how we do things in our professional lives. So we believe in fostering this data culture within organizations, and we feel that there are 3 sort of core pillars to getting people treating enterprise data in the same way that they treat data in their personal lives. That's search and discovery, the ability to find what you have, data literacy, being able to understand how you should interpret that data, and then underpinning everything is data governance, right? So we want to make sure that data is used correctly, that the policies are adhered to, that we're not going to put our organizations into potential regulatory problems, and we're not going to drive additional cost into those data warehouses that charge based on consumption. So how do we bridge this, right? We want to make sure that we've got a data strategy around governance and access. We want to focus on the end user. This is really what we're calling people first data governance. A lot of organizations start from what policies should we put in place, and they focus on that governance process without actually considering the end users and how they're going to engage with the process. And once you've brought that, once you've sort of brought that process in, can we adapt it? Can we iterate over it? Can we make it better as it progresses over time? And the last thing that I'm going to leave you with, as far as slides go, before we jump into the product, is this is really designed to break down those silos within the organization, so that we can think differently about data and we can use data in a smarter way. So, what does this really look like when it comes to an enterprise data catalog? So, as a curious and sort of curious and rational user of enterprise data, I want to be able to search across those data assets to understand how things come about. Now, we have traditionally looked at data assets in isolation. So let's say I'm interested in customer information. I want to search across the data catalog. I can see here I've got just a ton of results. Now what Alation's going to do for me is it's going to sort that by relevance, right? We're looking at how people are behaving in the catalog, but also the level of trust in the data. Are people endorsing it? Are people warning against it? And we're ranking those results by activity and trust, right? If I want to get an idea of what is a customer to us as an organization, I can see this is the terminology that describes a customer. These are the data sources where that information exists. These are the policies that govern the usage of that data. So this is completely transparent and focused on delivering the information that the user needs to access this data properly and sensibly and within the bounds of our organization. Now, what we've been kind of playing with at Alation is ways that we can group this stuff together. It's it's becoming less common now that we want to really deal with data assets in isolation. We want to start thinking about collections of data assets or data products, and really bringing that to a marketplace where people can understand the use case for these collections of data products, understand how they get access, and actually then trigger that access process from inside the catalog. So we can see here that we've organized our homepage based on areas of interest. And the way I like to think about this is, if I log on to Amazon, it's going to show me where I've been before, what things I've looked at before, what products I might like based on my usage, my previous purchases. But it's going to categorize that stuff for me, so that if 1 minute I'm looking at computer monitors, it's going to show me a whole load of hardware. If the next thing I'm doing is looking at PS5 games, it's going to show me a load of entertainment stuff, right? And the same thing applies for enterprise data. Let's say we're an analyst within the organization, and we want to understand what does our organization mean about data literacy? What training courses do we have? Maybe we're interested in metrics that we run our business on. Can we define and standardize how those metrics are calculated and what sources of data that should come from? Maybe I'm an executive that's just really interested in those executive dashboards, but then the proper interpretation of those dashboards. But we're looking at the marketplace, and I can see here we have a number of data products. We can see how those data products are organized, what's included in the products, how sensitive the data is when we actually come to use it, how we get access to it, and what data assets are included. Now, maybe I want to drill down and understand, maybe we have a customer table here. I can see the detail of those individual assets. I can see that there's sample information here, so that I don't have to run queries, again generating cost to understand the structure of the data. It's here for me in the catalog. Sensitive information can be managed by either Alation or our integration with Snowflake through data masking policies. If I want to make a change to this, so maybe I'm the part of the team that runs this Ask Me Anything session, and I kind of think, well, actually Friday afternoon we want to have that off, so let's change that to 11 a.m. just so that we can get everything out of the way. I'm presented with the workflow that's going to go through to actually get that position, that change approved. I can see that it's going to go to my data stewards. It's then going to go to a board where we need to get a consensus before those changes are made to the content in the catalog. So I can change this, so let's say, right, 1 p.m., forget that, we're going to be in the pub, we're going to do 11 a.m. Right, I'm going to submit that for review. And now I can see where my change is sitting in the approval process. Again, this drives transparency. It allows people to understand where they are in the process and encourages that collaboration and that contribution to the knowledge base that's just going to foster this data culture for us. So going back to the marketplace, I can see, well, hey, here's how I get access, right? I need to start a conversation and request it. So I can do that within the tool. I can create a new conversation. I can say access request, and I can assign that to IT support. I can add some content here, so blah, blah, and off it goes. And that's now going to initiate a workflow for me that is, well, maybe that should be request access rather than access request, but you get the idea. We're looking for reserved words here, so this is actually an automated process. So IT support. There we go. That should now work. Okay, and whilst we're waiting for that to kick off, we're going to look at this from the other side, right? So it's all fine from a user that wants to search and discover and work with data, but what does that look like? Excuse me, there we go. What does that look like from somebody that's actually managing this this data? So now we're looking at Sally's profile. Sally is a steward within our data environment, and Sally's presented with a bunch of information that's going to help her drive content into the catalog to really promote that usage. So we can see just how well our catalog is being filled out based on usage profiles. And we can focus our prioritization, our effort on placing content on those high touch assets. So we're providing value to the greatest number of people with the lowest level of lift. And we can also see that Sally's got a bunch of tasks. So we can. Another thing that we're playing with is what we're calling policy bots. Alation's open extensible solution. We have bits of code running here that are looking at standards inside the catalog and identifying where gaps exist that break those standards. So we can then address those and make sure that we are within. Our enterprise standards with regards to documentation. We can also see the change requests that I produced just a moment ago. These tasks are contextual, so I don't have to go rummaging around. I can see again the change that's been suggested. I can see the differences. I can see that I'm actually the first person, because I'm part of that stewardship group, the first person that needs to approve this. I can then approve that, save it and close, and pass it on to the next people to actually then approve that change for publication to the catalog. So going back, I'm hoping that by now my access request has been resolved. So we can see that by creating a conversation, creating an activity inside the catalog, that's fired off something to Jira. Somebody's then, one of my IT support team have updated the ticket, provided me access, and closed it off. Again, this is driving transparency, this is driving usage, and this is driving consumption of the data so that we can make better decisions, and we can realize some of those benefits that I talked about in our personal life, in our professional lives as well. So that's what I had to show. I'm going to open it up to questions.
Excellent. Well, so it really stands out to me here that as a holistic experience, it's very pleasant, right? You know, you have, it's not just one tool that handles access or structure. It's a whole environment.
Correct. So there are, I mean, don't get me wrong, we are credited with inventing the data catalog, but we're not the only guys and girls in the game, right? Now there are products out there that have multiple layers depending on who you are. So if you are a governance person, you're going to see a different user interface to somebody that's actually looking to consume data. Now we kind of feel that actually drives silos rather than removing them, because it should be that holistic experience. If you are in the tool, regardless of whether you're approving changes in the catalog, whether you are curating stuff in the catalog,
right,
or just looking for data, it should be this unified experience, because that's what drives the behavior, the culture change within an organization, and that's a human thing. That's not a technology thing.
I'm going to ask you a tough question here. The tough question is, there's always resistance to adopting new tools like this, because it's obvious, like I said, that the experience when it's integrated end to end is very pleasant. You can stay in it, you can send messages in it, you can manage your data, all that kind of stuff, and going from one such task to another is seamless and enjoyable. The question is, and so people are like, oh no, not another tool. The reason they say that kind of stuff is because it's not always possible to implement this stuff piecemeal-wise. Is this tool one that is only pleasant to use when it's installed properly and all the integrations are in place?
I get it.
You have to import all the data for it to even be worth anything. Can you get any benefit piece by piece?
So I'm going to break that down into two separate things, right? It's getting the data in there to begin with, and then creating the content that's going to make it meaningful for people.
Right.
Right. So getting the data in there is super simple. We have out-of-the-box connectors for 90 different data platforms now across relational databases, data lakes, BI tools.
Right.
So wherever an organization's data exists, if it's Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery, MySQL, legacy systems, doesn't matter. We're going to connect to it, and we're going to pull in the structure of the catalog, right? We're going to pull in the structure of those data sources and make that searchable. Then it comes to curation, right? Actually bringing content that's going to make this a living thing for users within the organization. And Alation is, I say there's a number of players in the market. We believe that we're unique in this, in that we actually look deeply into those data sources to understand how they're being used, not just what's there. And that ability to understand the popularity of the data assets means that we know those high-touch assets where they exist.
Right.
So you can prioritize the creation of content based on where the majority of your people are going.
Okay.
Right? So if it's Q2 results, for example, we're going to know that that's where everybody's interested, because Q2's just Q2's just starting actually, but and we can drive content to those high-touch assets, so that when people come to the catalog, look for something, they find useful information, and then they come back. Right? There's nothing worse than going to a tool like this, finding it completely empty, and just getting no value out of it, and that's where that is how data catalogs. That's where they go to die.
Right.
And we make sure that those behavioral patterns are sort of front and center, right? So that we can drive content where it's going to be meaningful, which then will result in adoption.
But let me ask then, because I suppose you've seen this implemented in a number of places, and some manage, presumably, to implement it faster than others.
Yeah.
And the question is, do they do it in a wide way, i.e. catalog everything and add attributes to everything and do everything like in parallel? Or is it better to add a source and make sure that it's seen through to the end, and you do it sequentially like that? Which one is more successful in practice? It
really depends on the organization. A lot of people come up here and talk about people, process, product, right? And I don't want to kind of go bang on about that. But it's about having the right people in place. Now, some of our customers are very, very large, spanning multiple geographies, multiple business units, multiple org functions. Some are, quite small, right? They're very focused companies, and it's going to depend upon the how ready they are for actually driving this this cultural change within their organization. One of the first things that we want to do when we engage with the customer is figure out, is this, is it a good cultural fit for us, right? Some organizations, they're very concerned about regulatory compliance, locking data away, making sure that it's only accessed for very, very specific reasons. And we can help with that, but are we the best tool? Probably not, right? If we come across customers that are super interested in leveraging data to make better decisions, making it available, layering proper controls in front of it, but making it available for search and discovery, then those are the customers that we find are going to be really successful.
Yeah.
And some of those are going to do it on a use case by use case basis. So maybe one part of the org has a data catalog requirement. They're going to start there, curate that one little piece really, really well, and then showcase it to the rest of the organization. Everybody likes to show off. Look what we did, right? And that's incredibly successful. Some organizations come at it from the point of view that nope, everything's going to go in the catalog. We're going to any curation is better than no curation. All questions and answers are going to go in there, and this is going to grow over time. Is it going to be perfect first time round? No, but it's a product that's very customizable. You can iterate. You can go around this design cycle a number of times and refine it over time.
Let me ask you the same question that I actually asked the panelists. I haven't actually asked a vendor here this question, and that is, would you say, because I asked you now which one is most, you can do both, but the question is which is most successful. Is it starting and getting done quickly, or starting and doing it efficiently?
So we're always going to get started quickly. We have a delivery framework that allows for us to get going really fast. The vast majority of our customers see value from the catalog inside of 10 to 12 weeks, right? So we're always going to get started very quickly. That delivery is going to be focused on enablement in a very tight scope. So we like
10 to 12 weeks. Is that reasonable? I mean, some people, 6 months. That sounds. It's 10 to 12 weeks is pretty short, right?
Yeah. Our record. Well, certainly the record in the UK was a large retailer who they do speak publicly for us, but I won't mention who they are. Their record was 5 weeks to go through our delivery framework.
But the key here has to be, it's not that your tool is, it might be amazing, but I mean, to get this kind of stuff done in 5 weeks, you have to set the milestones short enough to be able to do it in 5 weeks.
Again, it's setting it up so that it can be successful. It's understanding, understanding who's going to drive, the actual, collection of this content, because it doesn't exist in one person's brain. So who's going to empower data stewards to actually come into the catalog, provide content, and then okay that content, right? Yeah. That is it's a cultural shift. People are going from managing this stuff in Excel and wikis. And
wikis are the best because they turn into this forest of unmanaged nonsense.
Exactly. You've got no audit trail. You've got 16 different versions of every single document, right? And it doesn't work. It doesn't scale, and that's why people come to us. But it's making sure that the right team is in place to drive the technology that can go as fast as they can, right? Yeah. It's not, I said I wasn't going to bang on about people process, but it's an important part of any IT delivery projects, right?
Right. All right. Well, I thought the demo was cool. I think it's cool also that you're saying set the milestones tight, and that you can get value out of this without, like ERP projects where the person that started the project has retired by the time they're done. That's not what we're all about here. We're about putting this stuff into production and seeing the value.
And getting value quickly.
Right? Yeah. So that's neat. Cool. And so for all you in the audience that are thinking about data catalog, Alation, you guys were early. You guys are still doing well.
Still very much in the leader quadrant.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. If you're interested in getting to know more, can they get in touch with you?
They can indeed. So Alation.com, request a demo. We'll quite happily show this stuff to anybody, right?
Awesome.
We're very proud of it. We want to show it to everyone. And for anyone that's listening here, obviously they can come see us at the booth.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for showing us, and thanks everybody for joining. We will be taking a little break now, but we'll see you after the lunch. Make sure you fill up on calories so the old noggin works for the afternoon sessions. See you around.